Good afternoon, traders and investors. Welcome to the closing print. Josh Walter here, taking the place of Joel just for one more day. But today, of course, we have on Dennis. We're going to get right into the meat of it here. So I'll just quickly go through the futures. Currently in the S&Ps, down 0.2% at 50.52 in the E-minis there. Dollar going the other way, up about 0.2% at 105.97. Bonds down 0.5% at 114.08. Crude slightly down from half, just right above 82.08. Gold, that's up 0.25% at 2,394, just under that nice even $2,400 handle. Silver down 0.2% at 28.34, and Bitcoin up almost 4% at 63,315 dollars. There's your futures update. Now let me bring in Dennis. How are you doing today, Dennis?
We're doing good. And as predicted on pre-market prep, we do have a chop fest today. We thought it was going to be choppy, and it has been nothing short of completely choppy. Start the day up a little bit, give it back, then rally for 15 minutes after the open. We rally like straight up. And then we turn around and we give it all back in the afternoon, and now we're trading red. So it's just been a wild trading day for intraday volatility here. And if you ain't fading, you ain't trading. That's what they used to say to me. So one of my friends, Jason, he would always say that for Bright Trading. And you know what? It proves true today.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, every rally just gets sold off as you were saying. So yeah, great call as per usual on
Yeah.
that. And of course we had the follow through from TSMC's earnings this morning,
Yeah.
getting sold off, semiconductors going with them.
Yeah.
I mean, have you been trading those today? What have you been fading?
No, again, you look and usually I don't trade middle of the day. I'm more of an opening trader, and then I close out, and then I trade and come back in the afternoon and I start trading again. Because the middle of the day is just usually a chop fest. There's no directional. It makes it tougher. But using Taiwan Semiconductor, it was trading down a dollar or two most of the pre-market, but then it opened down more, and actually it kind of led the whole chips down. Nvidia was trading higher, and the pre-market opened higher, and then it rolled over and rolled over hard. I mean, the Nvidia intraday action has been crazy. So it opened at 850, tanks to 824. You're like, oh boy, here it's just basically just fell 26 points in a matter of like 5 minutes. And then it gets it all back, and they start rallying. You're like, well, there was the washout. Kind of felt like the washout, but then it starts rolling over again. So, I mean, the intraday action has just been wild here. I think we're just gearing up now. Like, it's choppy ahead because we're really coming into the heart of earnings season here now. It's going to get kickstarted with Netflix tonight. But next week, we're going to have Tesla and Meta and Microsoft and Google and IBM. And, the list goes on and on. Boeing, Merck, Intel, Texas Instruments, Visa, Chevron, ExxonMobil, Caterpillar, Roku. I mean, it's just like the heart of earnings season really starting kind of tonight with Netflix.
Yeah, a little bit. We'll see what happens to their earnings tonight. I mean, but yeah, next week's gonna be a big week for sure. And before I forget, we actually had a good question on Tuesday, just about the tax day. Of course, taxes were due in the States April
Right.
15th. We tried to take a look at seasonality, but I just wanted to ask you, Dennis, do you typically see maybe a little bit of a sell-off on tax day?
People paying the tax bills.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never tracked that. So I look, obviously a lot of, different seasonality patterns. I've talked about the January effect and different things. I've never really, noticed a tax day effect. Maybe I should start taking note. Maybe what did we do this Tuesday? It was pretty choppy, but maybe the sell off as people raising cash to pay their tax bill. I don't know. I don't think there is one, to be honest. That would be a Rob Friesen question. We bring him on to see if there's actually, because Rob Friesen was a master of seasonality trades. I don't follow it
Yes.
closely enough to tell you if it's bullish or bearish tax day.
Yes, fair enough. Okay, well that's kind of what it ended up being. We took a little bit of a look at stock odds and it seemed down around 0.2% at least in the S&P 500 there,
So
but
slightly down on tax day, you thought.
slightly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
if that.
Not pronounced though.
Yes. Anyway.
So
Okay.
Netflix tonight. Let's
Yeah.
just do a little preview here of some of the big guns here. It's kind of it's had a fantastic quarter. The stock and is up for the year here significantly. Started the year around $470, up at 609. So expectations are fairly high. But we've also been in consolidation for a better part of a month and a half. So it hasn't really run into the report. It hasn't really sold off into the report. It's just kind of hanging out, waiting for the report. We looked at the expected move yesterday on pre-market prep. I believe the expected move it was $58. It might have changed a little bit here. Those can change as we get closer to it. But if I just bring it up here right now and just grab the option chains, and all you do is you add up the calls and the puts, grab the 610s. We got 24.80 and 25.80. Yeah, 51. No, so it's a little bit less than that. $51 expected move. So about
Yeah.
$50. So on the downside, it's 848. It's going to be 800 and 900. Or no, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong stock. I had a video on my screen.
Yeah. I
Netflix. I
I
always have
have
a video on my screen.
seven
610. So
seven point
yeah,
eight.
560 to 660. You're thinking if you're trading this after hours, that's
Yeah.
where if you're short the thing, I'd be looking to bring it in. You get the expected move. You start thinking 555 to 560, and then the opposite. If it's getting really rips on it, you usually start to see resistance up at that expected move, which would be around 660. So, we don't know
Yeah.
what the number is going to be. And I mean, if they blow it away, stocks can go through their expected move. They don't have to stay within that range. We just know that more often than not, they do. So that's your expected move range. It's 560 to 660 on Netflix.
Yeah, that's the expected move. And taking place of Joel here, I'll call it a couple of levels. I mean, we have the high from earlier this month, right about 639, and then that's below the expected move there, if it's to the upside. But then we got at least a triple, if not quad bottom, right around, well, just above $600 at maybe 604 there. So might be an explosive move if we get that to the downside, or could be support. We'll see after the close here.
I think I should be good. I just turned my volume up here now. So they were saying that my volume was too low. So yeah, I don't know why it wants to default. This Zoom, like we use StreamYard on pre-market prep seems to work so much better. The Zoom wants to default. I have to change every day. And if I don't forget about it, if I forget about the change, it defaults it back down to low volume. So you should hear me okay now.
Yes, yes, you are louder. That's great. Thanks, Dennis. Maybe we'll consider changing to StreamYard there.
Maybe eventually. Poor Zoom, there's that stock, but the competition's so intense and the product's inferior now. $59 a share. I haven't looked at that stock for a while. Sitting near
Yeah.
multi-year lows here. I mean, it looks like it's ready. Again, people say, well, there's cash, they make some money here. And actually, the funny thing is the valuation on this has become more attractive over the years because it's become, just like the cash cow. But I just think competition coming. I just not a big Zoom fan.
Yes, yeah, that's fair. I mean, they had the big COVID boom, but yeah, back down to where they used to
Yeah.
be. All right, well, Procter and Gamble is also reporting earnings not next week, but tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow
Uh,
morning.
yeah, yeah. And are you expecting a little bit more of a move
No,
here?
Procter and Gamble usually, and the expected move is going to be significantly less on a percentage basis than it is Netflix. It's usually a few bucks. So if we just go, we'll do the expected move for you on Procter and Gamble too, because the next one report, grabbing the 157 and a half is the closest strike that we have to 157.18. It's $4. The expected move is $4, so it's fairly low. Consumer staples typically don't move around a hell of a lot. People are in them, for stability or, it's more, predictable the cash flows that are in there. You get a little bit of a dividend. It also went ex-dividend yesterday. So that's always interesting too. I know this morning Jim Cramer was talking about Procter and Gamble and just saying how defensive, this stock, actually holds up better when you start getting to bear markets, which is absolutely true. When you start to
Mhm.
see, everything as people are selling their tech stocks and moving into other things, they do look at stocks like Procter and Gamble. But I think like if you own a Procter and Gamble, I just think why not own cash because you're not going to get a huge return and you still are taking stock risk. So if it gets really ugly, everything goes down. But I don't think it's going to get really ugly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. And I don't know, Jim Cramer, everything that he says, I'm just short. So
Skeptical.
if yeah, if he says
He's
it's
been
gonna be
doing better,
stable.
Josh. Kramer's been pretty hot. The Nvidia call, he's been
Yeah.
pretty hot. Like there's definitely he over the years he's hot and he's cold, but he's been pretty good lately. He's been doing not bad lately. So I've been giving Jim Cramer a break on pre-market. I usually just beat on Kathy Wood. That's usually who I beat on the most.
Oh yes, yes, that's fun to beat on,
Poor
especially with
Kathy.
Tesla.
Poor Kathy
Yeah,
making new 52-week lows here again. Well, not, or new 2024 lows, not quite 52-week lows. She was down here lower than this in October, but new 2024 year lows for Kathy Wood. ARKK continues to go down. Should we talk about the stocks next week that are going to report here, Josh? Because you got me for another 5 minutes, and I mean, like we said, Tesla, Meta, Microsoft, Google. Shad, is there any stock you specifically want to talk about? Going to report earnings here because we can jump into those too. I would like to cover Tesla and then we can maybe let the chat take over. Tesla down again here today. I have a small position long-term portfolio, which has been a mistake. Again, probably should have just sold it all. I sold most of it back at 170. I probably should have sold it all. It's just been a disaster. The car lots are full. They're not selling nearly as well. The EV story is just ice cold.
yeah.
LAC, Lithium Americans, we talked about this stock this morning, had a secondary offering with dilution of 35%. I mean,
Oof.
these stocks are really struggling here. That ALTM that I've still got a small piece on, just an epic disaster. Albemarle, I took the loss on that one last year. It's a disaster. Fisker is off the board. Rivian goes down every single day, it seems like, except today, it's up 10 cents. Lucid's been a mess too. I mean, the EV trade is just so struggling so much. But Tesla here, you look at this stock and you think, well, if they do anything right, I mean, the stock has just been the worst. The Magnificent Seven, it's thrown right out of that. Like
Yeah,
nothing magnificent about this stock at all anymore. Started the year up around $250, now $150. In a year that the Nasdaq is up, the stock just went straight down.
yeah. We're at the Fab Five now, or something like that, without Tesla,
Yeah,
and I forget
they're
who
tossing
else. But
Apple out of there too pretty soon.
yeah,
As
that's
Apple's
right.
making new lows.
Yeah,
Poor Apple.
and just with Tesla, I believe you were adding Tesla to your long-term portfolio. That was maybe a couple weeks back. Are you still
Yeah, it
holding
was
on to
wrong.
it?
No,
It was wrong. Okay.
I've taken some of the loss. So I bought multiple times in the long-term portfolio, thinking that the bot story might, the humanoid story might take over, and it's just too early. I'm too early on that trade. There's going to be a humanoid story here, and this is going to help Tesla in the long run. It's just too far out right now, and they have too many problems with the current business, which is the cars aren't selling right now. So I've lightened it up to, like, I don't know what it's sitting at, like a quarter of a normal size. It might even be like 10% of a normal size because I never really bought a full size position. I bought it at like 180, 185, and I sold the majority between 170 and 175, taking the 10-point loss. Kept a small position on, which obviously I wish I wouldn't have taken any at all. But it is in the long-term account. I don't want to liquidate everything, but this Tesla, I'm not looking to add to it at all right now.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, I mean, Chet put out a couple of stocks, but they aren't earnings next week. But why don't we just touch on
Sure.
Broadcom here for a second?
Oh, good one to touch on. I haven't looked at it for a while here.
AVGO,
Breaking
yep.
down with the AI trade is cooling off here. AVGO reasonable valuation. Last time I looked at trading about 22 times earnings. Not crazy. I liked it back at 900. It's tired here now, though. Again, same story. It's just this market is tired, and we're getting rallies, and they're getting sold. Broadcom down another 17 points here today. We're kind of waiting for the earnings parade next week to really dictate the next move. We've sold off a little bit here. We got Meta, Microsoft, Google all going to report, Tesla as well. What are they going to say? Are they going to be able to pick the market up, put it on their back and lift the market? Or is it going to be one of those, selling the rips, even if these things get rips and then
Mhm.
obviously that's not what you want to see if you're a bull. But Broadcom, a great company, long term, probably fine, but short term, been a pretty good run. Stock is tired. It's similar to Nvidia.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, just to address that, I know we only have a couple more minutes here.
Yeah.
But between the Meta, Microsoft, Google reporting next week, which would be your favorite? Which do you think is going to be a real driver, or are they all kind of in the driver's seat?
Well, I think they're all just the issue here is for most of these stocks, they haven't really sold off much. So, Netflix is going to be a little bit of a tell here today because it sets up the same way that Google is. It sets up the same way that really Microsoft is. You're talking about Microsoft sold off a little bit in the last few days, but I mean, Google's sitting here, 3, 4 points from all-time highs. So, or at least, multi-year highs. I'm not sure it's back to, oh, no, it is 3, 4 points from all-time highs. I mean, Amazon,
Mhm.
which isn't going to report next week, isn't far from highs. Some of these stocks really held up well. Meta's, sitting up here holding up very well. So but the bar is somewhat high for these stocks. So as long as they knock it out of the park, they're going to be fine. But if they have any hiccups, like they're talking about slowing growth or anything like that, they'll hammer them. So
Yep.
bar is
Fade
somewhat
trade.
high.
Yep. Yep. Be prepared to fade, basically.
I think we're
That's what
still
I'm
in this
doing.
fade market. And, Netflix has got to blow it away tonight, too. Just going back to Netflix, they're going to have to blow it away to get that 660, to get that expected move higher. It's going to have to be something, unexpected, really. Like they're going to have to blow it away. This market is selling first and asking questions later. So we've seen just every day, we see the pain trade off an earnings report. And the ones that are rallying seem to be short lived. So it's been the play to actually be short on some of these earnings reports. We saw ASML, get hit really hard on its report, continue to go down. So we haven't had a lot of reports here, but the banks reported. JP Morgan got hit, continued to go down. Goldman Sachs rallied, but then it's kind of fading here a little bit here now too. Morgan Stanley's rallied, holding, but not continuing here. So tired. Some of these stocks are just tired. And sometimes, as if you're just long only, sometimes better to sit on the sidelines. Now I'm long short. So I love it when the market goes down because I feel like there's greater opportunities to short stocks as well. So, some of my best trading days are when we're, short. But, it's still, if you're a long-term investor, which I am in the long-term portfolio, sometimes, you just got to sit back and wait for the timing to get a little bit better. Right now, I don't feel like this is like the market that you got to buy right now because it's going to rip higher on us.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. All right. Well, you have your closing trades to do. So
Yeah, I'm going to
thanks
go
for,
in, get my closing
yep.
trades going. So enjoy, guys, and we'll hear you, or we'll be on pre-market prep tomorrow.
All right. Make sure to
Thanks,
tune into
Josh.
that. Yeah. Thanks again, Dennis, for joining us. And I'll take us to the close. And yes, we had a question in the chat. I had my AMD NVIDIA pair on. Well, actually, I've been putting it on, taking it off, putting layers on, taking it off. Let me just bring up that pair chart. And just to clarify, this pair was AMD short, NVIDIA long. And once I pull up the chart, you'll see how it's kind of been trending here. Let's just get the right one. Got so many windows open. Here we go. There we go. AMD and NVIDIA. So this is at least a nice even number. We've got one share of NVIDIA long versus 5 shares of NVIDIA, or of 5 shares of AMD short. Uh, I was riding it, put it on beginning of March and riding it higher. Once it started to turn and there was at least a little bit of movement there in Nvidia. Nvidia started to get shaken up, especially took it back off, took the last layer back off, but it was starting to stabilize here, and so actually put it back on there. And I mean, luckily that's been a great call. It's been working out pretty nicely so far. And the great thing too is to combine the pair trades with technicals. So I'm just gonna go back to sharing the charts here so we can see. AMD at least was leaning on a whole bunch of lows right around this 173.50 area. And you can see the day, April 4th, that it just broke right on through. And so that was at least a sign to put it back on. It was showing weakness. It didn't want to come back above that. And hey, well then it's been a good trade since. So that's your update on the AMD Nvidia trade. Just before we get to the close here, we have about 10 minutes to go. Let me know in the chat if there's any stocks you want any quick levels or technicals on that I can touch on. Otherwise, yes, I wanted to touch on a couple more earnings. I mean, of course, Netflix, we have earnings after the close today. Procter and Gamble, we gave the expected move. It was just under 3% there. I mean, we got the high from last week right around 157.85 on the upside, but then we got room right up to double top right around 161, just under 161 there in Procter and Gamble. But on the downside, I mean, hey, might be support here, might not be, might be big breakthrough right around 174.75 there. There's a nice double bottom on the downside. And then you got room right down to about 151.80, 151.90. There's some nice double bottoms to lean on on the downside there in Procter and Gamble. So again, they're reporting earnings after the close today, or sorry, after tomorrow morning before the market opens. My gosh, got so many stocks going on here, trying to keep a lookout. Looking at Starbucks, they've been bouncing back from their bottom. Yeah, that's not too bad. I mean, we came up against that early April high of 87.60 today, and what do you know? Today's high was 87.63. So unless it breaks through here in the last few minutes of the session, I mean, there's your resistance point to the upside on Starbucks. But I mean, you have some consecutive daily highs. Don't have double tops or triple tops as Joel would like to lean on there. So I mean I would just be looking at the daily highs on Starbucks if you're looking to the upside, but at least on the downside, you got a couple levels right around 85.30 and then lower 84.42. Yes, Nvidia does have a big range today. And let me correct the chart here so we can see it all. You can also see the point at which the long of Nvidia was put on. So in the pair trade down on Nvidia, but AMD has more than made up for that. Anyway, Nvidia had really got hit this morning. Wow. Actually, yeah, it came down and actually just surpassed the double bottom right around 8:30, went all the way down to what is this? 8:48? No, that can't be right. What what's the low here? 8:24.10. Just this morning came right back up and of course sold off with the rest of the market once we started selling off. But it looks like it's showing a little bit of strength here into the close. That might be a little bit of better news for Nvidia, those who are looking to hold long. And now that we broke through that double bottom, I mean we have today's low to lean on. Doesn't quite line up with the other levels there. That 830 number was the big one. The today's low messes it up a little bit, maybe not quite as strong to lean on. Anyway, looking at some more stocks here, we got Lululemon and Ulta. Let's start with Lululemon. Similar to Starbucks, uh, coming off the bottom here, and we also just encountered the highs seen earlier in April. What do we have here? Uh, it's close to a double top, right around 352, and today's high was exactly 352 on my screen, but no, that can't be right. Yes, yes, all right. Sometimes the charts don't quite load up right, but all right, we got the high of 352. We really need to get through that 352 resistance if we're gonna resume higher on Lulu in my mind, but then we have about 362. Got a 10-point range there in Lululemon on the upside if it starts to get going. And then on the downside, let's see here what levels there are. Probably right around 335. Even though it's a double bottom, we already broke through it, although that's a little hammer candle a couple days ago from Monday, I believe. No, Tuesday. Uh, So you could lean on that level, but really you're looking at your low for the month now of 330.61, at least for support on the downside. Then you got to go all the way to the monthlies where you can lean on right around 327. So there's a couple levels to lean on there in Lulu. I'll take a look at Alta here. Load up Alta Beauty. This one, yeah, not doing quite as well as Starbucks and Lululemon here. We at least bounced off the new low from this morning here, but we have yet to test the highs seen earlier in the week. So, I mean, it's really the first level I would actually look at is 433.40. That's the low from from Tuesday, also coinciding with the close. Joel is really big on the closes, especially if it's a large move down, and especially if it's an all-time high or at least a 52-week high, 52-week low. Those closes can come into play sometimes. So that's at least the level I would look at. 433.40 in Alta on the upside. First need to get through that. And I mean, then we have a double top right above 455. Could look at that, but oh, after the big move earlier in the month, there's gonna be a lot of bag holders there. So we'll see what comes up there. And actually, just let me change this to an intraday chart so we can see the gap. Yes, there's the gap. 474 to 516.40. That's a nice big gap if we can start to trade into that. And there's even the levels right around 504, 505 there in Alta. But if it starts going to the downside, well, that wouldn't be good news as we have to look all the way back to November to actually get some support levels. Next support I would be right around 411 in Alta. Uh, all right, let's see. Micron, MU, is that right? Let's take a look at Micron. Now, in the whole chip space, Micron, at least as far as I've seen, they haven't been concentrating necessarily in the AI space, although their chips are used to help make these video cards and help make all these systems that are being put together to train all these AI models. So it has picked up on a little bit of the AI trade. And actually, just as we speak, we're breaking the intraday lows. Not a great sign here into the close for Micron MU here. Let's see. They at least popped off of the report this morning for the CHIP Act grants that also gave a pop to a few other chip names. But of course, we've sold off on the rest here just to get a couple levels. I mean, you have the low from back in March 25th to lean on, right around 110. I wouldn't ascribe too much significance. That might be a two-star, as Joel would say. Then you got your low the day before, 107, and then you have that nice gap. Ooh, if this gets going to the downside, this would definitely be a fade play, as we've been talking about. And yet that gap is between 107 and 90. Well, just to have some nice round numbers, 107 and 97. Uh, that would be a nice gap if it starts to trade in there. It could really get going to the downside, but again, we're gonna have to see what earnings is like with Netflix a little bit after the close today, but especially next week because next week's just gonna be loaded. All right, let's take a couple other looks at some earnings next week while we're at it. Visa is another one, not quite part of the Mag or not the Mag 7 or the Fab 5, whatever the top components are called of the season. But Visa, in a decent downtrend here. I mean, we have a triple bottom put in today, so there's at least a nice support level just below 270. Call it 269, 269.90. It's a nice level right there. And there, I mean, if we start to break through that and support doesn't hold, then we'd be looking all the way to the lows. First 266, and then really the next level is about 265 on the downside. But if we're gonna get moving to the upside, and Visa may move tomorrow, not that it's reporting earnings tomorrow, but we're getting American Express reporting earnings tomorrow. So we might see a little bit of sympathy in Visa. All right, we got 20 seconds to go here. Just last level in Visa, 274 to the upside. And then the next one is right around 278. So some nice even levels, even numbers for the levels there in Visa. Let's take a look at the S&P futures. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's the close. About I saw 50.49 go across the screen here. Just couldn't quite rally up to green on the day. Oh man, that's too bad for the the Bulls. We're at least selling off a little bit here after hours. Oh, no, maybe getting a little bit of a bump, but you know what? Netflix is actually reporting earnings right now, so let's take a look at that. Oh, we're getting a little bit of action. Hey, we first saw a little pop up to 640. Oh, and here goes the sell-off. Right down to the downside here, currently at 580. Now down 32 bucks. Oh, what levels are we looking at here? I mean, we got a double bottom right around 580 here. Looks like we're coming right back up a little bit. Oh, the next if we start get moving to the downside again, the next one I might be taking a look at is around 567, maybe 567.50, right around that area there. Might be something to lean on. But let's see here. We see Netflix first quarter revenue come in at 9.37 billion, and what was expected? Expected was 9.28. So we beat expectations just a little bit here. And we also see operating margin doing well. Let's see, second quarter revenue estimated to be 9.5 billion. All right. So we're getting I don't know how to take this. As Dennis was saying, these stocks, I mean they're trading, not that Netflix is at all-time highs, but we're at least near 52-week highs. They really got to blow it out of the water. So, I mean, seeing the headlines come across here as more info is digested. So, oh, looks like we're even going green. Wow, there was a nice dip buying opportunity if you're able to get that 580 there. All right, and actually I need to get some shorts covered here before it's too late. So I'm gonna just not that I'm short Netflix, I'm short some S&Ps here. Just for full disclosure, and as always, this information shared on the show is for informational purposes only. Please consult your financial advisor. Now we've got that disclosure out of the way. I can sign off and say thank you for tuning in. It's nice we got to see a little bit of a move in Netflix there. Let's see how it's doing. Still going up all the way back up to 630. I mean, there's that. Oh no, that triple top was around 640. So that was the first pop up. But who knows where Netflix will end. Anyway, I can keep going, but I'll sign off now. Thanks for everyone for tuning in, and tune in to Pre-Market Prep tomorrow morning with Dennis, and then Joel will be back next week.